Morning, folks. Morning, folks. Welcome aboard. Duncan, Charlie, Chris, Ali, Thomas, Jim. Across in Facebook, we've got Robert, Maggie, Stephen, Carol, Susie, Dave, Stephen, Marty, John, Christina. Good morning, Christina. Trisha, Ian, Margaret, Graham. Numbers are quite nicely. That's interesting. 50 in Facebook and 67 in Restream. I don't know how that works. 97 in Restream. Right, we're there. We're over the 100 mark. Good morning, folks. And they talk Davey out the truck and at home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it is overcast, bloody chilly, 9 degrees. That's the weather forecast for Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. You want to know what the weather's like where you are? Look out the rain, bloody one day. All right. Right, let's get this news review underway. This is a news review for the 27th of the 9th, 2022. Better known to you and me as yesterday. All right, Tuesday started with one theme in the rags. UK financial markets in turmoil as pound tanks. Mortgage lenders remove products. Banks stop lending. Halifax, Virgin Money and Skipton are joined by a ween of other banks withdrawing 365 mortgage products from the market. So Kertang's intervention in the housing market by cutting stamp duty in England and Northern Ireland to stimulate growth stutters. Now it stutters because the pound is tanked and the markets don't like it. The markets don't like the moves being made by the Tory party, and we'll get a wee bit further into that and as we go on in the programme. All right. Now, the rags Tuesday morning also tell us that hedge fund managers had been hedging against the pound in a practice known as shorting. Now, it appeared that they had a prior knowledge of Kertang's fiscal event, as they're now calling it, rather than a mini budget. All right. It would appear Truss and Kertang had been holding meetings with these hedge fund managers just days before the mini budget. It would appear Truss and Kertang are involved in insider trading. That's naughty. But hedge fund managers have been making a fortune shorting on the pound. And it's rumoured that they've bet £3 billion, the hedge funds, on inflation reaching 6% by next May. There's some naughty stuff going on down there in the city. But I think it's even more interesting when we get further on as well, because the city don't like what's going on. Right, moving on. Tuesday started in the Pravda on ferries. Yep, you got it. The middle of a cost of living crisis, economic / financial crisis, energy crisis, inflation crisis, and the theft from the public purse down that road. The Pravda in Scotland go on ferries. The Pravda claimed to have a dossier showing that the procurement process involved in commissioning the two ferries was weighted in favour of Ferguson Marine. Now, the dossier, of course, says no such thing. That is a BBC investigation. They can make it say what they bloody well want, but they caveat it. How do they caveat it? Because when they go to air, they say may have, or the dossier suggests the procurement procedure may have been rigged. Interesting that, isn't it? Suggests may have. So it would appear they're not quite clear on the facts. That's how propaganda and smear stories are done. Suggestion and may have. So methinks the propagandists at the BBC have just been caught in propaganda mode. Anyway, the cuckoos in the nest are shouting for a police investigation. The SNP say that's no further police. That's for Audit Scotland. So honour what you've got, BBC. and let's have Audit Scotland investigate this. But it's very interesting what the headline read. And when the programme goes out tonight, you'll have them spin it to try and make it look as if there was something dodgy going on in the procurement situation for the two ferries. But as I said, the headline was interesting. The dossier suggests the procedures may have been rigged. May have. Suggesting may have. That means whatever's in the programme tonight is speculation is spun by the BBC. But everything that's going on, Jocko has not to know about the real crisis that's going on. So Jocko will get told SNP bad, NHS crap, Polish crap, education crap, everything to do with Scotland crap, rather than having a look at what's actually going on, like insider trading. And as for the cuckoos in the nest screaming for a police investigation, where's the screaming down that road for an investigation into illegal PPE contracts, illegal fast lane procurement? Where are the police investigations into that and the screams for police investigations into that? Anyway, apparently the BBC have a document which suggests the procurement procedure for the two ferries may have been weighted in favour of Ferguson Marine. All right. Moving on Tuesday morning, and Dross is on the Pravda saying that he supports the mini budget and he demands the SNP follow Kirtang's mini budget. Dross supports crashing the economy and giving away to the top 10%. Right. Now, the interviewer asked Dross, you support a budget that gives someone on £1 million a year a £55,000 tax rebate, but those on 20,000 only get £157 a year. And Dross says, yep, it will stimulate growth. On the party line, it will stimulate growth. Right? I don't know how many times Davy's going to say this. You can't grow your economy if you don't have people to sell to. And 157 quid's not going to get wee Mrs. McGumpher running out the door to spend in the markets, because it's not even going to cover the shortfall on our electricity bill. You need people to sell to. The UK market shrunk to almost 65 million. Prior to Brexit, that marketplace was 500 million. So this idea that giving people on 20 grand a year, 157 quid extra in the form of a tax rebate a year, isn't going to stimulate the local economies the way Dross claims. Right, moving on Tuesday, and the International Monetary Fund warns the nations of the world not to follow the UK's fiscal policy. They say the UK fiscal policy is driving inflation, undermining the currency and harming its citizens. The warning sees the pound weaken again, and the UK government the UK government intends to fund fiscal policy by issuing UK debt bonds known as gilts. The cost of issuing these debt bonds just get very expensive as interest rates are shoved up to try and control inflation. The market's spooked, and they may fail to raise the £130 billion they want to raise on the international markets by selling UK debt bonds. Moving on Tuesday, and Ian Murray, Scotland's only Labour MP, tells the Scots the SNP are irrelevant at Westminster, and that a vote for the SNP in the UK general election is a wasted vote and a waste of time. Now, what Ian Murray was saying yesterday just confirms what the rest of us have been saying. If you don't vote for a cuckoo in the nest at a Westminster election, then Scotland has no voice. If you do vote for a cuckoo in the nest at a Westminster election, Scotland still has no voice. It's called the democratic deficit, and that's exactly what Murray was pointing out when he said that the SNP MPs are irrelevant because they can't do nothing. It didn't matter if they were Labour MPs. They wouldn't be directing policy anyway. They might get a few gravy trainers to make the cabinet look good, but they wouldn't be affecting policy. Doesn't matter. Scotland's got 59 MPs. That's it. England's got 535. So although daft arse, because he's not very bright, Ian Murray, thinks he's pointing out that voting for Labour would be better for Scotland, he's not. He's just pointing out the democratic deficit and why we need independence, so that we actually get a party we vote for in power and have an influence. Well, we have two governments, as I like to call it, we have no influence. Moving on, Tuesday. Where are we? Aye, so also a poverty pike chips in yesterday and all once again, saying that a vote for the SNP in a Westminster election is a waste of time. Now, the two of them say that as the latest polls come out showing voting intentions for Westminster, and the SNP would win 51 of the 59 seats if the election was tomorrow. But the election's not tomorrow, and the Tories are not likely to call one any time soon because of the turmoil at the moment. Yeah, well, anyway, these two irrelevant twits waffle crap, you know what I mean? Also Tuesday, the First Minister of Scotland and Wales meet at Bute House to discuss ways to work together with on the cost of living crisis and to get their strategies straight, apparently, for the COVID public inquiries. All right. Now, so while Drakeford's up in Bute House in Edinburgh, trying to get cooperation going between the Welsh and Scottish government on the cost of living crisis and on the COVID inquiries, Starmer is telling us all that he won't deal with the SNP. There'll be no deals with the SNP. There'll be no talks with the SNP. They'll ignore the SNP, basically saying they'll ignore Scotland's voice. Interesting, huh? So much for democracy. Anyway, so that's Drakeford's a visit to Scotland, and basically that was all the political news there was in Scotland yesterday. Duff ferries, apparently, and a dodgy ferry contract, apparently, and Drakeford rolls into town. Interesting, Drakeford didn't go to the Labour Party conference in Liverpool, isn't it? Just shows you Labour and Wales are in a totally different place to Labour in England. Anyway, while Drakeford's up cooperating, Labour cooperating with the SNP, Starmer takes to the floor at the conference centre in Liverpool where he gives his closing speech. I watched it, all 49 minutes there. I got it on YouTube. Starmer promised to fix everything. School, free breakfast for kids at school. Hey presto. A British energy company to compete with the Big Six. Well, the Scottish Government wanted to do that, but couldn't do it because of their fixed budget and the volatilities in the energy market. Maybe the Treasury will have the magic money tree printing money to set up in that market. But I don't know. The other thing Starmer's promised today is fix the railways, fix the NHS, sort out the police, sort out the legal system, turn England into a green energy haven, turn the whole UK into a green energy haven. Actually, but he wasn't talking about England at all. They'll change nothing down there. What he was talking about was rating Scotland's resources, while telling us our voices don't matter unless we vote for his party. telling us we ignore our representation unless it's members of his party. And some people may actually buy that fish. But the chances of him doing any of the things that he said he would do when he gets into power are slim to fuck all because of the UK's fiscal position. And a wee bit, I hope a way through his speech, he begins to realise it and says, it won't be easy, it'll be a long road. It'll be a right long road, because there's nothing left in the fucking kitty, you idiot. There's no wee note saying there's no money this time. There's a wee note saying the credit care's burnt out and all. Wow. And one of his biggest cheers was when they slagged off the SNP. Said they're an irrelevance in Westminster. Playing to Little England serfs and trying to make the SNP look like some sort of radical national party, nationalists and blood and soil nationalists, the way they did demonise the nationalists in Ireland. Straight out the Union playbook, divide and conquer. Hope people don't fall for this fish. Alistair, I know there was a PR bill passed at their conference, but what did Starmer say? Say the electoral reform was low on their list of priorities, so he just told his conference to fuck off. But let's face it, he is fully bought and owned by the state, and when he gets into office, all these big promises he's made, he ain't going to be able to fulfill them. He knows that while he's standing there doing it. He also knows that the state that owns him won't allow the sort of changes he wants to make. He won't be fixing the housing market. He won't be fixing social mobility. He won't be fixing the NHS. He won't be doing any of these things. Because there isn't the tax base for it, and there isn't the economy to grow the tax base. He knows it. And the other lie that Starmer says is he'll make Brexit work. And the gullible and serfs down there were lapping it up. I don't know why. Can they not see common sense? Brexit can't work and he can't make it work because Starmer says he wouldn't go back into the single market and the customs union. Brexit is unworkable. So what Starmer did was actually stand in Liverpool and lie again. By the time Labour get in a couple of years' time, the UK fiscal position will be absolutely trashed, and the UK economy will also be trashed, and it will have contracted to the point where it only services the internal market. Also Tuesday, Starmer doubles down on the Tories' view that Scotland's resources will fund the UK's future. And that's what he's talking about, the Green Revolution. He's talking about stealing our resources. Talked about a sovereign wealth fund for the excess of renewable energies that Scotland's going to produce. Talking about stealing our resources again. Moving on, Tuesday, Starmer promises not to... Starmer talks about, we've already spoken about setting up an energy company, right? As I say, but I want to go a wee bit more in depth into that. Now he's talking about trading against the big six. The Tory party have just shrunk that market, so the big six have got a monopoly. They're not going to give it up, and their friends in the gas and oil supply chain will ensure that a national energy company, as he's calling it, will fail. All right. Right, moving on Tuesday, an analysis from the city says Trussonomics are anti-growth, they're counter-growth. They say that her tax cuts mean higher interest rates, so businesses won't borrow. And with interest rates set to get to 6% in the middle of next year, if you're a business, an SME, small and medium enterprise, which is the backbone of the UK economy, that means you're borrowing a market where interest rates are at 10%. So you're not borrowing to build new premises as your business, as you try to grow your business. You're not borrowing for research and development. You're not employing people with interest rates at 10%. It's prohibitive. So the reason why the markets are so spooked about the UK economy is Trussonomics is counter to growth. Throw in Brexit, and as the economy shrinks, as it does, as it will, then mass unemployment's coming. And these small and medium-sized enterprises, which is the backbone of industry in the UK, will not be doing very much. There was a wee ray of sunshine for exporters with the pound crashing. Unfortunately, the cost of Brexit and exporting all the certificates you need, your customs papers, your safety certificate because we're no in the EU anymore, your food hygiene certificate for foodstuffs, the vet certificate to say the foodstuff is what it's supposed to be. The cost of exporting now is prohibitive. So even the crashing of the pound doesn't help exporters here in the UK. Trussonomics is a fucking disaster. And the only people who make money are the City of London. And they're doing it on insider trading. And last night, the BBC reporting that because of the rebuke by the International Monetary Fund, when he makes his fiscal statement on November the 23rd, it could see the Tory party and Kwasi Kwarteng and Liz Truss with egg on their faces as they have to U-turn and reimpose these tax rises. So there's lots of good news there. But what we have seen over the last few days is the Labour Party turn into a huge democracy-denying machine. A democracy-denying machine which says unless Scotland votes Labour, then Scotland's voice will be ignored. It doesn't matter if Scotland votes Labour, Scotland's voice will still be ignored. No funny. Right, also yesterday, Putin annexes large areas of the Ukraine, claiming that the people in those areas voted to become parts of the Russian Federation or stroke Russian Empire. The next thing that will happen is, of course, Putin will tell his new citizens to fight against their countrymen. We'll see how that goes. I don't think things will go well for Putin in these circumstances. But Putin's declared that these are now parts of Russia, and he will be putting in Russian officials to run these areas, and as I say, he'll try and get the people in these areas to fight against the rest of the Ukraine. But it also puts the rest of Ukraine in a hard position. But I don't think he'll find these areas manageable. I think he's misread the people in these areas. They might speak Russian, but they're Ukrainian. I think he's misjudged this one. He can try and govern these areas the way he's governed the Crimea, I suppose. But it's going to take him along. It's going to be hard for him to hold them. There'll be people on the inside the areas working on behalf of the Zelensky government. But that brings me to something Zelensky said yesterday. So Zelensky said yesterday that he won't deport Russian deserters back to Russia where they face a jail sentence. Which brings up the question is, what will he do with them? Where will he put them? Where will he send them? Can he just invite them in to stay in the Ukraine, the area that he holds? Too easy for infiltrators and saboteurs to get through that way. But he's encouraging people when they get to the front to drop their weapons and walk into the Ukraine. He won't deport them back. So I don't know what he's going to do with them. I've never seen any suggestion of what he was going to do with them. If you've seen any suggestion of what he was going to do with them, stick it in the comments. I'll read it later. All right, and while that's going on, Liz Truss nearly blows the Middle East to fake. This one slides under the radar, folks. But Liz Truss is talking about moving the British Embassy to Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, contrary to United Nations international law. And the message it would send to the Arab nations could well see the Arab nations go on fire. So that's the UK and the Americans moving to Jerusalem. Truss is aligned herself with the Israelis. That's interesting as well. So if you missed that story, it started while they were burying the Duchess of Balmoral. So Truss stirs up trouble in the Middle East, and the UK's got a lot of Arab allies. Could be shutting off the market for the arms dealers. Mental. Right, that's stories I've got for you. I hope you found them interesting. I hope you found them informative. But Labour's gone bang on, fuck you, devolution. So they have. And bugger you, Jocko. I hope you'll remember that when we go to the polls at the next election if we're still in this bloody UK. Okay, let's see what Scotland's papers got to say this morning. I'll tell you what, I haven't got time where I'd run across the English papers for you. They're totally different. The Scotsman has Starmer's British Energy vow at heart of number 10 pitch. I don't think they have the fiscal levers to be able to do it, but you never know. Starmer, the record has Starmer plans state-owned energy company Power of Scotland. Basically saying it's going to be powered by Scotland. He's also saying he's going to create 100,000 Scottish jobs, but actually that's the number of jobs quoted by the SNP and the Green government. And basically what he's doing is he's picking the SNP's playbook to play to the people of England. Right, the Metro has Starmer no deals with the SNP. As if we care, Starmer. You don't get it, do you? We're off, and your party's dead in Scotland. Latest polling shows that you might pick up one more seat. The Lib Dems might pick up Kilmare, and the Tories will be dropping to 2, if not wipe out. The Daily Telegraph has reverse tax cuts, IMF tells Truss, and Putin accused of sabotage over gas pipeline explosions. This is a Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2, so basically the Russian pipelines into Europe are now closed. That will see the energy market in turmoil again, which we'll see and the UK having to try to sell more gilts or debt bonds. Things are not going well for Little Britain. The Times has house price warnings as loan rates rise sharply, and that has to do with mortgage companies pulling the mortgage. And what they're saying is, an analyst say property values may crash by 15% over the next 12 months, thanks to Kjartan's interventions in the market and the crash of the pound. Okay, the Edinburgh Evening News, the price is fright, and that is the news that the consumer retail price index, or consumer price index, says that retail inflation is running at 10.9%. The other measure saying it's at 14.6%, I think it was. The Daily Telegraph has reverse tax cuts, IMF tells Truss. The I has PM and Kjartan ignore officials who warn of market turmoil. And the National has I'm putting spotlight on independence. Meet the Scottish star of Make Me Prime Minister, whatever the hell that is. And Scottish Tories demand tax cuts, saving them thousands. Ross has questions to answer after we reveal figures amid calls to copy final plan. And the final headline in the National is Starmer rules out deal with the SNP in any circumstances. The Winnie Rag the Field has Lawrence killers sickening selfies in his jail cell. And calling cops over £240 million ferry farce. Tell you can call in the cops they want, they're just going to tell them bugger off. This is one for Audit Scotland. The Herald has. Dentists warn that cuts mean basic NHS treatments face axe. Well, we knew that. Their intention is to run down the NHS, parcel it up and sell it off. Wow. The other loony rag, the Express has. Cancer care shame enough is enough. And top charity chiefs lose patience with failing Yusuf over dreadful treatment wait times. There's dreadful wait times right across the bloody board. But it's just so happens our cancer services are doing no bad. They're catching up really well, even though the figures still look bad. And the other thing is, A&E waiting times, if you last week or this week, improved by 3%. 3.6%, I think it was. No, hear that heralded in the papers. And the Star has Glasgow in final two to be contest hosts. We'll show the great vision. Hotels book up fast for May. So Glasgow's in the final two. It's Liverpool and Glasgow to host Eurovision. But as if we care with everything that's going on in the world. And these idiots are talking about hosting the Eurovision Song Contest. Mental. So that's what I've got for you today, folks. Things are looking jolly good. On progress. Read an article by Kenny Farquharson in the Times talking about currency. And he says, it's a fair one. When they ask what currency you want to use, question they've got to be returned as, what currency are you going to use? Because if we remove our assets at this point in time, without pegging our new currency to the old one, or slowly leaving the sterling's on, then the country next door will collapse. So, Kenny Farquharson points out that, there would be difficulties, but it was the right call to call for a new Scottish currency. But he says, the gradualists that want to take a decade to introduce it are probably right. Well, that's what happened in Ireland, actually. It was 10 years until they introduced their own currency. So there you go. That's what I've got for you, folks. Hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it informative. Viewing figures are good. Thanks for joining me. The usual stuff. There is a campaign underway, folks. As you can see, they'll try to deny our democracy. They'll try to deny our inalienable human right to self-determination. They'll try to deny our claim of right, which they recognise, to choose the form of governance that suits us best. This is all highlighted in the submission to the High Court, by the way. And as I was saying, when it comes to the right to self-determination, then domestic law should be interpreted under the international conventions signed up to by the UK government. I don't know if you know this, but the UK government recognised Kosovo. So it recognises states' rights to self-determination. Right, as I say, but there is a campaign going on. So get your eyes on the prize, learn your howdy-onies, and get out there and win hearts and minds. Forget the baloney coming out of Labour right now. There's no general election on the horizon unless there's a general strike which brings this government down. So ignore Starmer's going to fix everything. The UK's fiscal position by the time he gets in is going to be much worse. Alright. So learn your how you're going to win hearts and minds. Support the independent media, support Broadcasting Scotland, support Independence Live, support Indie Live Radio, support Caledon Media, support Trues Radio, support the iScot magazine, and support the national newspaper, support independent bloggers and bloggers. And if they've got a crowdfunder underway and you can spare a few shekels, which is highly unlikely the way things are going, throw them in the pot, please. Remember, follow the guidance, switch left, face coverings in closed public spaces, clean hands and surfaces regularly. If you're not feeling well, mask up, social distance, so show some social conscience. And if you're the health and social care workers who are still using NHS lateral flow tests, please continue to submit your results. Okay, and any use buggers that were late, follow the instructions on the sign each day. Get to the naughty steps. Have a nice day. We'll be back tomorrow to regurgitate the piss that was in the news of the day. As I say, but forget what Labour have to say. 2 years out for a general election, the Tories are going to be clinging on for dear life now.